Hello again, I'm Garden Girl Paige Evans, and I'm so excited to be back for another year at 2Ps. For January, we all started with this mood board full of wintry whites, wood grains, sweater patterns, trees, and typographics, and the theme for the month is family. On my video, it's all about being inspired or the projects we create because we want to make art or to try a new technique, emphasize color and texture, etc. So right up my alley. I found this quilt on Pinterest and I wanted to try and replicate it with paper. So here's what I came up with based on all of those requirements. It's a layout called Family, and I pulled all of the colors from the mood board as well as the theme of family. So let's begin. Again, started with the mood board and my Pinterest quilt find, and I'm using the close knit cut and paste and Maggie Holmes Flea Market 6x6 paper pads, and I just pulled the pieces of paper that match the colors from the mood board, and then I'm using a 1-inch square punch, and I'm punching. In the video I just did one, but then I went back and I punched 2 squares from each of the papers, and here they all are. They look so pretty. The next step is to trim them in half, and if you've seen me do this technique before, it's because I have. But I guess it's my style to punch a lot of papers and cut them up and put them together in fun ways. So Paige's pattern papers. All right, so I've trimmed them all into triangles since that's the shape they are in this quilt, and I want them to stand out. So I'm using this dark brown wood grain background it's from the Close Knit collection by Crate Paper, and I'm using this ruler to find the exact middle of the paper, so 6 inches in from the top and bottom. And now I'm just going to go ahead and start placing my triangles according to the pattern on the quilt. I'm using that aqua triangle as a spacer to make sure the spacing between each triangle is exactly right. And I want them to be a little bit straighter, so I'm picking them up, adjusting them. And now really I'm just going off of this design. So I counted on that little image of the quilt that there were 16 triangles going from the top to the bottom, and I'm using a 1-inch square punch or 1-inch triangle. And so since my paper is only 12 inches, I needed to adjust the design. So I couldn't exactly copy it. I had to shrink it down. So what did I do? I made rows of 3 instead of 4, like they did in the picture. So I just improvising as I go along. So as I was putting down the triangles, like always, I try not to put 2 of the same one next to each other. That's why I used so many different pattern papers. I like to vary, where the pinks are, where the yellows are, where the grays are, where the blues are, and spread the reds out all around. So there's a nice mix of color all around the layout. It's a pretty quick process once all the papers are punched and trimmed. It's just a matter of gluing things down. I'm using this adhesive roller by American Crafts, but I'm not being too picky about making sure that they stick down permanently or even like perfect placement, because I think a little bit of imperfection gives layouts their handmade nature. But I know that I'm going to go back over my triangles with a sewing machine, so it's okay if the adhesive isn't too sticky. In fact, it's preferable if it's removable adhesive so that you can move them around if needs be. So you can just watch as I build up this. It kind of looks like a snowflake, which is perfect because that's what I was going for. Based on the mood board of the wintry whites and the patterns, I really liked how this looked like a snowflake. Then I ran the design through my sewing machine and sewed straight lines through all of the triangles and cut off all of the strings in the back. I'll trim them down later. So originally I wanted to create my design on this page, but I decided I wanted a lighter background, so I'm just trimming the snowflake out. And I chose this paper from the Close Knit collection. I love that it's got phrases like grandmother, great-grandmother all around it, so it ties in with the family theme perfectly. Time to stick it down on the background. I want to put it down at a slight angle. I die cut this pretty doily from white cardstock for the photo mat. I'm going to go ahead and stick it down. I love this fabric photo frame from the Maggie Holmes lines. And I'm using my new favorite tool, the Tim Holtz Tiny Attacher, to staple it down. Alright, from these 12 by 12 chipboard pages, I've chosen a couple of embellishments that are matching colors. And I'll go ahead and put them on top of some of the triangles, along with a 4, because that's how many members are in our family, and then a little button to create the triangle. I've added a wood veneer heart right there, and I love that these just say family. You know, if it's a family theme for the month, let's just call the layout family. These are from the Close Knit by Crepe Paper. A little resin hairpin by Maggie Holmes for an embellishment, and this stitched paper border also from Maggie Holmes. A little resin flower from Maggie Holmes, and a little label sticker where I can stamp the date on later, or right now. This October afternoon roller date stamp is perfect, because I usually don't use the sentiment in front, so I just want the date. I did a little test stamp on there first. Looks good, so I stamped it right on the label, and I'm going to tuck it under there so it's just a little peekaboo. See the date. I like to add my hand journaling, so I just draw some lines along the top right and bottom left sides of the snowflake, and I'll go ahead and write my journaling. And after this, it looks pretty complete. Feels like a layout is never complete without a little spray mist, so I'm going to drop some Mr. Hughie's right along the journaling, and that sums it up. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've been inspired.